We got work to do.
Welcome to Highway to Hell, a supernatural podcast. I'm Christine,
And I'm Kristen.
and today we're talking about Season 5, Episode 21, 2 Minutes to Midnight, which
Yeah.
is a huge deal, and it was really funny because when I first started watching this episode, I texted Kristen, and I was like, I started watching it, and I fucking hate it. And she was so nice. I could tell that she was like internally going like, "Oh no." But she
Yeah, and
was
I
like,
think I hadn't watched it yet, I think. And I
uh-huh.
was like, no, it'll get better. I
Yeah, and
promise.
she was like, "Well, thankfully they don't spend the whole time at the hospital." And I was like, "Okay, good. Like it better get better." And it did. It got a lot better, like by a huge margin. So I just felt like I needed to explain that apparently I just hated the first 12 minutes of this episode.
Well,
Um,
it's hard to watch. I mean, it's really
uh-huh.
relevant to everything going on. We start off in a nursing home.
Mhm.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
no,
tough.
totally. It was very triggering and disgusting, and it was everything that we didn't want to see. And after that 12 minutes, it's like one of my favorite episodes.
Oh my god. I mean, it's a great episode. Like, it's pretty good. And I mean, we'll get there, but I forgot how much or like why we love death so much.
Yeah. I think Death is maybe my favorite character of the whole show now. Um,
For good reason. Yeah.
yeah, it was really amazing. And I also told Kristen I watched it the whole episode like 3 times. Um, and then just ended up really loving it. So, for anyone who doesn't remember what this episode is about as a whole, here's the IMDb description. It says Sam and Dean confront pestilence, but he unleashes a deadly virus upon them, so Castiel must intervene on their behalf. Crowley tells Bobby he will give him the location of Death, the fourth horseman, in exchange for his soul. And Dean has a meeting with Death to discuss Lucifer, and an unholy alliance is formed at a very high price for Dean.
Mm, I like that
Yeah,
description of Dean and Death's little deal.
me too. It was
Um,
interesting.
yeah, but
Um,
it's a very it's definitely like a big twist, like
huge.
it's we thought Death was going to be all scary, and he's kind
Mhm.
of creepy, but he's
He's
not.
also real chill.
Yeah, he's also real cool. He loves pizza. Um, he's definitely a deep dish guy,
Uh huh.
but he's a little creepy, but like he gets it. He's not like the other horsemen. They were assholes.
Yeah, yeah. It's really interesting because I felt like you could really sympathize with what Death wanted. Like you
Hmm.
just really understood him. Um, so this episode was directed by Phil Segricia and written by Sarah Gamble, so Dream Team.
Yeah.
And it was really well done. The writing was extremely good, and the directing was extremely good. There were multiple scenes throughout this episode, and especially after that 12 minutes, where I was able to watch it a little more closely and pay attention. Like, really, the whole episode could have passed for movie quality in my mind. It was really just so well done and thoughtful.
Hmm. And you were able to pick up on those details because you watched it like 3 times, right?
Yeah, but even the first time around, I felt like the directing was done so well that they took their time to show you those details and point out the
Mm-hmm.
things that you needed to see.
Oh yeah.
And it was just kind of shot really creatively.
Mm-hmm.
Like I specifically think about the scene where Dean is sneaking up on Death in the pizza shop.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of.
It's so
So good.
good. It's
Yeah.
so good. And how they go back and forth with the scythe after he drops it and then it's on the table. They just show you. It's that
Mm-hmm.
classic thing I felt like of showing you instead of telling you. So, yeah, I just really enjoyed all of that. Um, Also, this episode aired on May 6th, 2010. So I like that we're kind of like in this period of time that's really close to like where we are in the year right now.
Oh
Like we
yeah,
just
that's
started
true.
June, but pretty
Mm-hmm.
close.
Oh shit, is it June 1st? Oh, tomorrow it's June 1st.
Oh, it's
Okay.
tomorrow. Okay, good.
I freaked out. I was like, it's June already? I mean, even though it's tomorrow, it's like,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
still here too soon.
It really is. May went by so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Uh we're still working from home, just as an update.
Yeah,
But
and
I think
probably
they're
will
gonna
be for a
start.
while.
Yeah, I think they're thinking of phasing people in back into the office soon, but
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be a slow phase in with everything going on, and you know, all of that stuff. Where I
Yeah.
think though, you know, hopefully it'll get better. Who knows? Maybe we'll go into a second lockdown. That's what I'm anticipating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
Yeah, I'm
maybe.
I'm kind of right there with you. It's probably going to be the way it goes.
Oh, and the other thing that I want to tell you is because we were talking about the murder hornets last time, and then I saw. I don't know if this is real, but I saw some article or like news story headline that was monkey escapes from test facility with coronavirus in a tube, in a
Stop
vial.
it. No.
I
That better
don't know
be
if
a
it was. I
lie.
think I think it was fake. I think it
God,
was
I
a
hope so.
joke. Wait, hold on, hold on. No,
Confirming.
it's real. It's real.
Stop. No,
I'm
it's
not playing with you. Monkeys, CNN. Monkeys
not.
snatch blood samples of suspected COVID-19 patients in India.
Oh my god. We're fucked. We're so fucked.
And I was like, okay, it really is Jumanji now. Like, we got the
Oh
crazy
yeah. It's
monkeys,
yeah.
we got the murder hornets.
Yeah.
Everything's going to shit. What's next? What happens after in Jumanji?
I don't know, guys. I'm just so happy to be here with you at the end times.
Yeah, talking supernatural and just enjoying ourselves.
Enjoying what's
Speaking
left
of
of life.
Yeah, and speaking of supernatural and end times, they actually I don't know when exactly this is happening. I think in next week or so, but they're actually putting season 15 on Netflix already because um the actual recording or filming of the rest of season 15 is going to pick up in the fall
Oh.
or pick up soon, and they're going to kind of, I mean, obviously there's this big break now in the middle of the season.
So it's going to be like a 15 part 2.
Right, it's going to be like Sex in the City, like season 6A and season 6B. um
Oh.
right, and some people are saying like they don't know if they're just going to make it season 15 or if they're going to make it season 16 instead or something like that. I don't know. I'm curious to see, like, you know, once we get there, of course, and afterwards, through interviews and stuff, if they, this big break has impacted the ending at all,
Mhm. Mhm.
if like they suddenly decide to end it differently because of of outside influences, whatever's going on, and
Mhm.
kind of speak to that, or I don't know. I'm just really curious to see what happens with it because of all of that.
Yeah, for sure. It's so crazy how much this has affected everything, like so
Hmm.
deeply. It's like really just changing the course of so many things.
Yeah.
Um, so that's good. That's going to be very interesting to see how that
Mm-hmm.
goes.
Yep.
And I'll be able to watch it in another like 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, at this rate, because we've been taking lots of breaks. Although I think after like season 5, what we typically try to do is during our hiatus, we usually try to use that time. We don't take a break. We take maybe like a week break, and then we use it to like, talk about, load up on recordings. That way we don't have
Yeah.
like these, for emergency situations, we don't have these sudden breaks in between the seasons. So I don't know, hopefully we can load up on those episodes, and so we can, put them out more regularly in season 6, and maybe get through season 6, by the end of the year, and
Mm-hmm.
move on from there. I mean,
Make some
just
headway.
from there it's going to be still less than half, right? Or no, I did the math last time. We're a third of the way through.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah, and we had, was it season 3 that was a little bit shorter
we did have
because of the
season 3 that was
strike?
shorter.
But
Mm-hmm.
still, I mean, by the end of season 6, we'll definitely be at least a third of the way through, like the number of
Yes.
episodes.
Yeah, definitely. Um and some of the later seasons are a little bit shorter too. Not as short
Mm.
as season 3, but
Okay.
yeah, we'll get there, and we'll be able to talk about everything going on. And hopefully we'll remember, man, coronavirus was happening during this time.
Yeah, I've
Or
been thinking about that. Like, whenever we look back on this, we're going to be like, that was some crazy shit.
yeah, that was a crazy time. I was gonna say, or Jumanji Jungle would have already taken over. So we'll
Right.
we'll see.
Right. We might be like recording from uh like our hiding spot in the forest or something.
Right. Uh,
Yeah,
um.
so anyway, on that note.
Well, I do have
um
one more
cool.
correction, or
Okay.
not a correction, but a question that we asked on a previous episode that we got answered. I'm trying to look for it. And actually, everyone who answered was like, "You guys are fucking idiots. Like, why didn't you know this?"
God, you're so stupid.
I mean, not literally, but like they were pretty much like,
Oh
yeah, like,
no.
why don't you know this?" Okay, so we had asked the questions during Hammer of the Gods why Lucifer refers to um the baby. So like once the baby came, the God was no longer interested in us.
Oh yeah, someone please educate me.
So, at Boys in Peril said the baby is humanity. That's why Lucifer fell. He disliked that angels weren't number one anymore.
Okay. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, guys. I didn't go to church. No one ever
Yeah.
taught me these things. I'm only operating under assumptions.
Yeah, and there were some that were like, I never screamed at a podcast more than I have
They're
this one.
like, it's humanity!
You fucking idiots.
You're so stupid!
Oh my god. No, we are not educated about this at all.
No, no.
That's
I think I've been pretty like candid about the fact that I don't know shit about shit.
Oh, same. Same.
Um
Um
but
so thank
not
you.
my
Thank you
fault.
for informing us.
Like my heathen parents didn't go to church. Um so okay, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for that.
Thank you. Thank you guys for that. That makes more sense. And yeah, it makes sense why Lucifer is like, fuck Earth, fuck these humans. Let's get rid of them.
Totes.
We don't
Yeah.
need them.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Good to know. I feel that makes me feel a lot better because I really did not know what that was referring to, so it was kind of it didn't sit well. So, um that makes me feel better. I can go on without that mystery. Um and we
cool.
did have a song in this episode. um, that was just the most badass. And it was
Mm-hmm.
by Jen Titus, and it's called Oh Death. And we have a little clip right here. Oh, death, oh, death, oh, death, won't you spare me over another? But what is this that I can't see with ice cold hands taking hold of me? When God is gone and the devil takes hold, who'll have mercy on your soul, death.
Very cool.
So cool.
Ugh.
So
I
cool.
I don't think I've ever heard that before. I don't Is it well
No, me
known? Do
neither.
you know?
No, I got the impression that it was its own, like there's another version, and I think the show picked it up and wanted it, and it was that version
Mm.
was recorded for the show.
Oh. Wow.
Mhm.
Very cool. Well, I
That's what I
mean,
just understood from my YouTube searching. So I want to go
it
back and
worked
listen to the other
out
versions.
because
Oh
it's
yeah.
pretty fucking dope.
Agreed.
And
Love the
it
show.
definitely set the tone for death. You know, it wasn't, I don't know, because they could have gone like a lot of different ways with him as a character.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but I dug the path they took here.
Me too. It was very heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It was so cool. And I love
Yeah.
that whole scene too. I'm gonna like geek out about it, but that song was played during the scene where we're first introduced to Death. He pulls up riding a white horse. Um, Let me see. I wrote down the kind of car it was.
Oh,
It's
and
a Cadillac Coupe de Ville.
nice. And what did
Yeah.
it said something on the license plate, didn't it?
You know what? I saw that on Supernatural Wiki, but I didn't see it in that scene. I wonder if it's in another episode later or
Mm.
something, and they just noted that it says that, because I looked all through that episode and I never saw the license plate on the car.
Huh. Well, yeah, maybe they just like cut that scene or that shot of it, and
Mm-hmm.
then maybe it's just like well known, you know, that they designed this car with it. Yeah, I'm
Right.
trying to
Or in the Netflix
find
version or
it.
something, it's not shown.
That's totally possible. Like I was just, you know, watching Buffy again, and God damn it, they just fucked it up with
Oh,
the
really?
different. Well, because like if you watch it on Hulu or Netflix, it's lighted different one, and then it's also cut different. So like the first few seasons were meant to be on 16:9, I think, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, like regular format versus widescreen.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for Hulu and Netflix to adapt it to widescreen, they have to like do the shots really weird. And so it cuts out like people's faces or like you know, or sometimes it's like too out, like too zoomed out, so you'll see like the mic and stuff like that, like little mistakes
What
like
the
that
fuck?
that you won't see on the DVD.
That's
So
so
that's not on the
weird.
DVD. But it also explains why like in season 1 of Buffy especially, Angel looks like he's always like in daylight. And
Uh-huh.
it's like no, if you watch the DVD version, it's like definitely lighted dark, you know. But they just like messed it up.
That's so
Um
dumb.
so yeah, I wonder if something like similar happened with Supernatural or if it was shot in
Yeah.
widescreen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, the Supernatural Wiki says that the license plate says bye-bye.
That's kind of cute.
Yeah. Yeah, it is cute. Bye-bye.
Bye
Um
bye, you're dead.
Ciao. But yeah, so maybe they just cut it out for that version, which was kind of silly. But good to know. It was kind of some fun trivia. Is there anything else that we wanted to mention before we get started?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So we do have the then segment, the episode recap. And we get clips of Adam being left in the beautiful room and taken somewhere. So we don't know where Adam is. And also a clip of Cass being like banished. You know, the last time we saw him was in that episode where he had the symbol cut on his chest and he makes himself and the other angels in the room go somewhere. We don't know where. We were just recently lamenting and missing Cass.
Yeah, where are you? Where you
Yeah,
at?
where you at, bro? And then we also get Gabriel telling Sam and Dean about the rings and how to use them to open Lucifer's cage and stuff him back in. And so that's kind of all the information we get for this episode. And my notes say, I hate the first 12 minutes, so here we go.
Oh.
I just couldn't
Yep.
take it.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Like, here we go.
Yeah, here we go. So, Davenport, Iowa. Pestilence is posing as Dr. Green in a nursing home type place. We find out that he's infecting the residents with multiple diseases at once and basically seeing how they react. And he's like using them as human petri dishes, which is really cool. So we see him in this first scene kill this kind of elderly woman. And when she dies, she throws up all over him, and it's this like unnaturally bright green barf.
Very Exorcist.
Totes Exorcist, yeah. Also a little bit like Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
ectoplasm. It was pretty nasty. So then with Sam and Dean, Dean finds out about Sam's plan to say yes to Lucifer, and he's really pissed off about it. He's like yelling at Bobby, like, "Did you know about this?" And while he's ranting, he gets a call from Cass. So we find out that Cass woke up in a hospital and he doesn't know where he is. But he appeared bloody and unconscious on a shrimping boat off Delacroix and scared the fishermen.
So they are like being shipped, or like transported across the world. Well, I don't know where that is, but and maybe it's not across the world.
Right. He was just sent very far away. So silly. So we were
Jeez.
like joking about him being in Australia or something, but that's really like how it happened.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And also we find out that Cass is very human right now. He doesn't have his angel juice flowing through his veins right now. It's all depleted. And so he's like got bug bites that are itchy and he's in pain and he's got a headache and he's like, I don't like this.
Yeah. Welcome to being human.
um and so he tells Dean that he can't just, zap over to them. He can't get there unless he takes a plane or something like that. And then he also tells Dean that he owes him an apology for Dean saying no to Michael. He's because he didn't expect him to do that. And so Cass says, "You are not the burnt, broken shell of a man I believed you to be."
Yeah, and I think Dean's just like, okay, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. I think.
Oh my god.
I know, so funny. So they just kind of say, "Okay, well, Bobby's gonna wire you some money, and I gotta go," and they hang up. Sam and Dean go and check out the nursing home, which on the sign says convalescent home, and I wasn't familiar with that phrase, but it basically just means nursing home.
Yeah.
And they go inside and sneak into the security room with all the security cameras, which was a funny scene because Dean's like pretending to try to find, I guess it was like his aunt or something. I can't recall. But he's trying to get the security guard to help him, and it doesn't go well, and they end up just like beating him. Um, so then they stake out in the security room for what seems like a really long time. Like there's this sort of time lapse, or just kind of like hanging out in there for forever. And eventually they see Pestilence on camera. And the way that they know that it's him is that whenever he passes across the camera, there's like a strip, a horizontal strip of static over his face that crosses the whole screen. And as he moves around, it moves with him, which was a really cool effect.
It was very cool. It reminded me a lot of the effect that we see. Is it The Grudge, or it's the Japanese version? No, it's I think it's the
Oh,
Japanese
Ringu?
version of Ringu. Yeah, I think there's a scene like that where they're watching a security tape video, and the individual is like, their face is all like messed up like that.
Ooh, cool. I never saw Ringu.
Oh, it's, I mean, any Japanese version, original version is going to be better than the horror remake.
Oh,
I
shit.
highly
Well, I liked
recommend
The
it.
Ring.
Yeah, I mean, The Ring is fucking scary. I saw it again
Yeah.
recently. I think I told you, and I was like, oh my God, like this is actually, this holds up.
Okay, it's still scary.
Yeah.
Shit, man. Okay, I need to watch that. I feel like watching a scary movie. Um, so then we cut back to the scene at the very beginning where Pestilence was with that woman. So we get that like it was happening later. We just kind of came in on it at the beginning to set up the tone here.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's visiting with this patient, and then this nurse who's a demon, we like cut over to her, and she sees that Sam and Dean are in the nursing home, and she leaves to go tell Pestilence. And then we cut back over to Pestilence, and he kills the patient. She barfs up that nasty green barf. And the demon nurse comes in and tells him that the Winchesters are there. And she tries to persuade Pestilence to leave, but he wants revenge for what they did to his brothers, which was
Oh
interesting.
man.
He's like real
Mm-hmm.
pissed. So
Yeah.
then Pestilence uses his powers on the surrounding area, like the whole building, it seems like, and infects everyone around him with all kinds of shit. Like suddenly this doctor and nurse collapse. They both have different symptoms, but they clearly die from their symptoms. Um, and Sam and Dean are on their way to him, but as they get closer to him, they start feeling the illness effects more and more. So it's almost like radiation sickness or something. Like as you get closer to it, it affects you more.
Yeah, it was very interesting, an interesting way of going about it. It was not like they were like actually infected and then they started feeling the symptoms and all of that. It's just like there is this perimeter of just sickness, and that's how it's, the closer that they get, it's they're feeling it more and more. I think I
Yeah.
liked it. I liked the way that was represented.
Yeah, me too.
Um,
It was interesting.
but it must be hard because they were like dropping to the floor immediately.
Yeah. And again, the directing was really cool because you got these shots from their perspective and everything is like fuzzy and their vision is like wobbly and like everything's kind of like out of focus and they're like falling over and struggling to get close to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if at some point they were just going to call it and be like, "Oh god, we can't do it. We're going to die." But they didn't. They just kept going.
Yeah,
Ugh. Okay,
there are
so
heroes.
really though. So my notes say as Sam and Dean get closer to him, they start getting sicker and it's fucking gross.
Yeah. That's how I feel around the grocery store.
Yeah. Get me out of here.
Yeah. Freaking out.
Yes. So they get to the room that Pestilence is in, and they almost pass out. Dean is already passed out, and Sam gets there, and he falls through the open door and just collapses. And as he falls, he drops the demon blade. And then Pestilence comes over and starts kind of monologuing, and he threatens to torture them with illness. He's like, no matter how you feel right now, it's going to get so much worse. Um, and then my notes say, suddenly, it's the best episode ever. So Cass busts in, and Dean's like, how'd you get here? And he's like, I took a bus. And then, unfortunately, he starts coughing up blood.
Oh
So we
no.
understand that Cass, like, still doesn't have his angel mojo, and
Mm-mm.
he's still too human, so he's feeling the effects from Pestilence. And Pestilence is like teasing him, and he's like, oh, okay, well, I guess you're not angel enough, basically. And Cass then lunges and grabs the demon blade and cuts off Pestilence's ring and kills the nurse demon who was kind of guarding him. And
Yeah, real
so,
sneaky.
yeah, it was real sneaky. He was real quick. Um, so then Pestilence, like, they get the ring, but Pestilence tells them it doesn't matter. It's too late. And then he just disappears, and we're like, oh, great. What did that mean?
Yeah, I guess did that just mean that the disease has started spreading? Oh, and then also, of course, they have like the whole vial, the
Exactly.
monkey, the monkey vials.
Shit. Yeah, I think we find out that what he means is that whole plan to distribute it, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's already packed up and they're sending it out.
Yeah.
Um so then back at Bobby's, they tell Bobby that Pestilence said that it's too late, and they're like, so we're hoping, we're wondering if he's got some kind of bomb that's going to go off somewhere. Um and then they're like, so give us some good news. And Bobby's like, well, the storm of the millennium is about to wipe out Chicago and kill 3 million people. And they're like, oh, okay, thank you. That's what we needed to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But what they realize is that what that means is that death will be in Chicago. So they can try and take his ring by going there and confronting him. And then suddenly, Crowley shows up, and Sam and Dean find out that Bobby sold his soul to Crowley to get that information. He did it.
Yep, he sure did. And I guess I don't fully understand. Like, did Crowley? No, no, no. Okay, yeah, that's right. I would have liked to have seen the actual ritual. We didn't get to see it. You know what that looked
It's
like.
okay, we got some photographic evidence.
I'm not talking about that ritual, but I like that too. Oh my god. I mean,
No, yeah, I get
that
what you're
moment
saying.
is amazing. I because Bobby especially just looks so pained, and Crowley is just so gleeful in the moment.
Oh,
Like,
he's
oh,
so happy.
look at what I'm doing, you know. And I could just imagine, like, he probably doesn't do this with every customer, but he's like, yeah, I need to tell Sam and Dean like this went down,
Oh, yeah, this is too
basically.
good. It's too good.
Oh my
But
god, I
yeah,
love that.
I get what you mean. That would have been a neat thing to see. Um, but yeah, so as soon as they realize, oh, were you gonna say something?
No, just that right, like I guess I can imagine it's like any other demon ritual, but it just sounded so like witchy, you know, and so
Yeah,
occultish that I had wanted to kind of see what that looked like, but
yeah.
it's all good. At least we got this picture. And
Worth
Crowley
it.
saying, "Why do you have to use tongue?"
Yes. Oh my god. He's like, stop it. Yeah, and the way that that scene was done was so great. Like, this was one of my favorite parts of the episode. Like, as soon as they realize, that Bobby sold his soul, Sam goes, "Did you kiss him?" And Dean's like, "Oh my God, why did you say that?" And he's like, "What? I was just curious." And Bobby's like, "No, I didn't." And Crowley was like, "Actually." And he's like showing them this picture of them kissing that he took on his phone.
Right.
And Bobby's just mortified, and it's hilarious. And I just love it so much.
It's pretty great.
Yeah, it was awesome. And we kind of get some more information here about why Crowley did this too. He specifically wanted Bobby's soul as insurance for himself because he knew, I guess he still feels like threatened by Sam and Dean. Sam keeps trying to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really trust him. So just to make sure that he gets through this whole ordeal, he took Bobby's soul so that Sam and Dean keep him alive so that he can give Bobby back his soul.
That makes sense. I think we had
Mm-hmm.
that question like, why does it have to be Bobby? And I think we had just come up with, maybe it's just because Bobby's there. Bobby understands the fight and what's going on, and he can just easily say yes versus working someone, right? And trying to convince them to give him the soul. But this also makes a lot of sense that as another reason on top of all of that Sam's been a little bitch towards Crowley. He needs some sort of insurance against them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's definitely tried to kill him at every opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And Crowley's not having it. So, outside, Dean is by himself, and Sam finds him and goes to have like a serious talk. And Sam tells him that he agrees with Dean that he's too weak to take on Lucifer, which was kind of heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Sam says that he doesn't think there's any other way other than him letting Lucifer take him over and trying to defeat him from the inside, essentially.
Yeah.
And then Crowley shows up and totally breaks the mood. And he shows them this newspaper that says that Niveus Pharmaceuticals will be distributing the vaccine. And he says it's full of the Croatoan virus. And they'll be distributing it in a simultaneous countrywide distribution. So there's the
Yeah.
bomb.
Crazy.
Yeah, man. Not cool.
Not cool at all. Nobody should watch this episode with everything going on right now.
Yeah, maybe save it.
Yeah.
Watch it in a couple of years.
Yeah, because that's horrifying.
Yeah.
Um, and
I mean, thankfully
yeah, it's
they
it,
they
it
stop it from happening, but it's still
thankfully.
just the beginning of this episode, just watching these people get sick, and I don't know, just everything surrounding that, it was hard to take. So if you do watch the episode, maybe just skip to minute 13.
Right. But I guess it is so interesting because back when we watched the Croatoan episode, or I forgot what it was called, but the one where Dean travels into the future, where Sam has said yes, and everything's gone to shit because of the Croatoan
Mm,
virus.
right.
I think you kind of just imagine, oh well, this happened the same way it happened in Resident Evil or in 28 Days Later, right? It started at one point, and then it just kind of slowly spread through, like the way zombies spread this disease or
Hmm.
virus. I mean, and but this is a very interesting way to go about it, that it's actually spreading, sure, from one source, but through this vaccine. Like it's very smart, and we kind of wonder, we kind of see, oh, okay, this was actually like literally overnight in that case. it's
Yeah.
not it's not going to be like a zombie land situation. It's like
No,
literally
it's like
everyone's going to be
everywhere all at
infected.
once. Yeah,
Right.
which is such a
Crazy.
scary thought.
Yeah.
Um, oof. Yeah, so they find that out and they're like, "Oh, great. Okay, now we know what to do."
Hmm.
Then we cut to Chicago, Illinois, and Death pulls up on his white horse, his Cadillac Coupe de Ville, and we hear that song "Oh Death," And there's no dialogue, there's no speaking during the scene. It's just a silent scene with a song. So he pulls up, parks on the street, and gets out of his car with a cane and a black trench coat and slowly walks down the street. And he's just minding his own business. But this man is on his cell phone and not paying attention to where he's walking and bumps into his shoulder and says, "Hey, watch where you're walking."
Mm.
And Death kind of turns around and looks at his shoulder and kind of like brushes it. And then we see very slowly in slow motion Death walking away and the man just falling onto his knees on the ground and collapsing. And people around him notice and start like running over to try and help. And then the scene just cuts.
Yeah. It's
Ugh,
crazy.
it's so good.
And I will just, again, take this opportunity to encourage anyone listening to watch Dead Like Me, because it's not exactly like this, how that works, but it's similar. It's like the
Mm.
soul is taken by the Grim Reaper just by tapping them on the shoulder, or
Ooh,
brushing their hand and stuff like that. And so it's like, it's very reminiscent of that.
that's cool. Yeah, it was really intense and effective and just a beautiful scene. And
Yeah.
I've watched it like 5 times.
And it was a great way to introduce Death. I mean, I think we had just been waiting and waiting for Death, because he got released like mid-season and we had not been seeing him.
Yeah.
But I guess we should understand that, I don't know. I guess I wonder how it works with Death and the Grim Reapers, because the Reapers are there to take, they work for Death, right? And they're the ones kind of doing that same thing, killing people when they're supposed to die, sort of thing, right? And then
Hmm.
guiding them where they're supposed to go. Um, is that right?
I think so.
But okay, but like Death has obviously the same power, but he's just kind of like, he's the manager. He's the one kind of
Yeah.
going, yeah, we need Tim over on aisle 3, California, for a death that's supposed to happen soon.
Yeah, I guess so. Um, yeah, I think that was really the turning point for me with this episode. Like, I had already started to enjoy it more once they left the nursing home. But then as
Mm-hmm.
soon as that scene happened, I was just totally sucked in.
Yeah.
And it was one of those really defining things for me. Like, I felt like suddenly like, okay, this is going to be one of those episodes for me that lingers. It's, some of the other ones that have lingered for me aren't necessarily the most important ones, but they have like really struck a chord. Like
Mm-hmm.
fuck, let me look up that other one. What was the episode about the guy who sold his soul to play the guitar? Crossroads
Oh,
Blues.
Crossroads. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
um and I think Faith was another one. Just
Right. And
episodes
that's
like that
that's
that
why they
really
were
stick with
at the
me.
top for so long,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because they stick with you.
Yep. Um. So then we cut to uh.
And Christine, just a side note,
Yes.
just a little tangent, because it's gonna bother me
Okay.
and I'm gonna forget. Um, I mistakenly said that scene with the security cameras is in Ringu, and I was like, second guessing myself. It's not. It's in Ju-on, which is the Japanese version of The Grudge.
Okay. Okay.
So
Got it.
just so everyone knows that fact.
Thank you. I appreciate that correction.
You're welcome.
I'll still probably watch both of them.
Yes, please do.
So then they're loading up a van, getting ready for a fight. Sam is going to go take on the whole vaccine situation and try to stop that from being distributed. and
Mhm.
Dean is going to go hunt Death. So they're splitting up to take on these situations. And then Sam says, "Remember when we used to just hunt Wendigos?"
Yeah, what a callback, man.
Yeah.
Such a
And
such a
Dean's
simpler
like,
time.
"No, not really. It was a simpler time." Sam tries to give Dean the demon blade, but then suddenly Crowley shows up and he's like, he doesn't need it. Here you go. You can use this instead. And it is Death's scythe. Um,
Yeah.
and he says that it can kill basically everything and can supposedly also kill Death.
Huh.
So then, huge deal. Crowley says that he, for Bobby's sake, added a little clause onto the soul deal. Um, and he asks, "Are you just gonna sit there?" And they're like, "What?" And he's
Yeah,
like,
and Bobby kind of like looks around like, what are you talking about?
"Yeah,
What are
yeah."
you talking about?
And he's like, "So let me ask you again. Are you just gonna sit there?" And they're like, "Oh shit." And then Bobby moves his foot and
Hmm.
puts it on the ground and stands up.
Yeah,
What?
crazy.
Crazy! And Bobby is so happy. He looks at
Yeah.
at Crowley, and he looks like he's gonna start crying.
He's gonna kiss him again.
Yes! He's gonna make out with him. Tongue and everything.
Yeah, and it's funny because
He just
I misremembered that. Like I knew this happened, but I thought, when we were talking previously about like, oh, what would Bobby ask? I was like, well, I know what Bobby would ask, but he didn't ask for it,
Oh, yeah.
surprisingly. Which was
Yeah.
shocking to me that he didn't ask really for anything. Um,
Apparently that was shocking to Crowley too.
right. And but doesn't it go to show like what a nice guy Crowley is, like
Yeah.
he actually did that for him. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I had to wonder, like, if he's just actually kind of a softie or if he did it because unfortunately Bobby is maybe more used to them with working legs.
Hmm, interesting.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I even have maybe kind of a problem with the way that I put that because I don't want to imply that anyone in a wheelchair does not have use. That is the opposite of what I mean. But if they're going to
Yeah, and we've
be,
seen Bobby like hold his own with a shotgun,
oh
right?
hell yeah. But, if they're kind of down to crunch time and he wants him to be able to run into a building with a gun and run out, I could see him maybe doing that selfishly because he thinks that it could be more helpful to them. Um, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I hesitate to think that that's really the case because um, clearly Bobby is just as much of a badass in or out of a wheelchair.
Hmm.
It does not matter.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, and I can't figure out Crowley too much, very deep yet. Like I don't know if he would be the type of person who, if that was the case, he would have said it, or if he would have kept it to himself. I mean, his
Hmm.
reaction really is just like he feels very uncomfortable that Bobby is so thankful, so grateful, and looking at him the way he is, and he's just like,
Yeah,
"Can't
yeah.
we go?" Like,
Okay, this is a little much.
yeah.
Let's go. Yeah, for sure. But it was amazing. I kind of felt like crying because Bobby looked so happy.
Hmm.
And he thanks Crowley like very sincerely. So, yeah, then they break it up because Crowley's uncomfortable. Um, and so then we cut to Sam and Bobby and Cass in the van going to deal with the vaccine situation. And Sam asks Cass about his plan to say yes to Lucifer. And Bobby's like, tell me that isn't the craziest plan you've ever heard. And Cass is like, well, I'm happy to tell you that if that's what you want to hear, but it's not what I think. And he says that Sam and Dean have a habit of exceeding his expectations. Dean resisted Michael, so maybe Sam could resist Lucifer. And I was like, oh, damn.
Mm-hmm.
That is high praise.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree. That's giving them the benefit of the doubt. And also, I don't know, it was just a cool thing for Cass to say. And he also tells them that Michael has decided to use Adam as his vessel. So that answers our question about where Adam is right now. And that's not cool.
Right. Like he didn't just take him. He's like, I think he's like
Yeah, actually going to
in
use him.
him already. Yeah.
Maybe so. Um, and he also tells them that for Sam to be Lucifer's vessel, he would have to drink a lot of demon blood. And they're like, what do you mean? And he was like, oh, well, that's like part of what's required, if he's going to be inside of you as his vessel. And they were like, well, what about the guy that he's in right now? And Cass is like, oh, he's drinking gallons.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. So that kind of throws a
And
wrench in
still
things.
deteriorating. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I guess they're thinking like, what? I guess what are they thinking? Like, if and when Sam is able to get out of Lucifer's vessel, then he
Mm-hmm.
will be addicted to demon blood again.
Maybe. Yeah. Like either way, it's going to bring that whole problem back for him.
Right.
So that sucks. And that's news. Um, and then they catch up to the trucks that are leaving the distribution center with the vaccine. Um, and they kind of start getting a plan together, but then as they're planning it out, like one of the trucks is leaving, and Bobby's like, okay, new plan. So Cass
Mhm.
goes over to that truck and stops it at the gate and attacks the driver. And while that's happening, the driver falls onto the horn of the truck and it all looks very suspicious. And so the guys back at the like warehouse with the vaccine that's being loaded up see what's happening and their eyes change to black. They're all demons and they're like, it's the Winchesters. And, they just kind of switch gears and decide to fight them, give them a little
Mhm.
taste of the Croton virus. So then Sam and Bobby see a group of workers who have been changed and they shoot them all. They're not fucking around. They just kill all of these people who are infected. And they're attacking another person who hadn't been infected. So they just take them out. And then Sam goes through the warehouse checking for survivors and he gives Bobby the demon blade. And while Sam is gone, Bobby turns around and totally shanks a demon that was like sneaking up behind him. So good job, Bobby.
Yeah, he can handle himself.
Yeah. Uh, then we cut over to Crowley and Dean. And Crowley takes Dean to where Death is hiding. It's this other kind of like warehousey place in Chicago, he thinks. And Dean's like, how do you know he's there? And he's like, well, first of all, it's crawling with reapers. And this was a really cool shot because it pans, it's like we're looking behind Crowley at his back and
Mhm.
this like open area in front of the warehouse, and it pans over, and then as it crosses over his back to the other side, there are a ton of reapers just standing with their backs to them and all looking at the warehouse.
Yeah, it was very cool. It
So
was a very
cool.
cool effect. And it's so creepy too because all of those reapers are just like standing super still.
Yes.
And I think we had, I don't know if we saw the reapers back in that town where Ellen Joe died,
Hmm.
or we just heard from Cass that
No, I think we did see. I think there was a clip of all of them standing there and they were like, oh shit.
yeah, it was like the same thing. It's just
Hmm.
they're waiting really creepily.
Yes. Um, but then Crowley goes and checks and he's like, oh, well, my bad. Death isn't there. We should leave. And Dean's like, what are you talking about? Like, all of these people are about to die. We have to stop this. And Crowley's like, yeah, I know. It sucks. We'll have to catch up with him later. And Dean's like, no, no, no. Um, which actually kind of leads to one of the only questions I have for this episode. Like, if Death
Mm-hmm.
wasn't in that warehouse, what are all the Reapers doing there? Are they just all over the city like that because that storm is about to hit? It kind of made it seem like they
Yeah.
were outside the warehouse for another reason.
No, I know. I didn't wasn't able to really pick up on what why they're doing that. Because back in that episode that I just mentioned, they're just standing out there because why? Like where Ellen Joe, where shit's going down. Why were
Yeah.
they there?
Well, was that when Lucifer was like raising Death?
Yes.
So maybe they were just there for the party.
Yeah, yeah, perhaps because like that town had just become a ghost town all of a sudden, right? And
Yeah.
so all those people were gonna be dying kind of
Mhm.
soon, I guess. So that sounds about right. I mean, there's this big storm happening,
They're just
and
everywhere
yeah, they had
already.
right. They had mentioned that death was all around Chicago or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it was weird because it was like, well, what is going on in that specific warehouse?
Yeah, like if that was one of the indicators for Crowley, I don't know.
Hmm.
Just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Um so then they leave and go back to the Impala, and Dean gets in, and Crowley's like suddenly in the Impala, and he scares Dean. And they like talk for a second, and then suddenly Crowley disappears again. And Dean looks over, and Crowley's standing outside this pizzeria on the other side of the street. And it's like really stormy, super windy. It looks really ugly outside, and it's starting to get really bad. And Crowley's like mouthing, he's in there, like he's in here. And Dean's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're saying. It
Oh my god.
was
And
really
I just
funny.
love that he suddenly appears next to him and he's like, I said he's in there.
He's like, oh shit.
Oh my
That's
god.
really funny. So then Dean's like, okay, well, are you coming? And he turns around and Crowley's gone again. And he's like, okay, cool. I guess not. Thanks. Um, then we come back to Sam and Bobby, and they're still fighting the infected people in the warehouse. And one of them attacks Sam and pins him to the ground. And Sam's having a really hard time fighting him off. But then Cass comes over and shoots the infected person and gets him off of Sam and totally saves Sam.
Yeah.
So then we cut back to Dean, and he is sneaking into the pizzeria with the scythe, and it's just totally quiet. I loved this because there was no music, there was no dialogue, there was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just silent. And he's quietly sneaking through the door, and a bunch of people who are in the pizzeria are dead. There's a dead waitress on the floor. There are people who are at their tables who are eating, and they're slumped over their plates. Um, and as he slowly walks up to Death, we see Death sitting at a table in the middle of the room with his back to Dean. And as he gets closer to him, the scythe in his hand glows red hot, and he can't hold on to it anymore, and he drops it, and it clangs on the floor. And Dean's face, he's like, oh shit, oh god.
Yeah.
It's like, that was so loud. And he looks up at Death, and Death doesn't even turn around. He just says, thanks for returning that. And we look back at the ground, and the scythe is gone. And then we look at the table that Death is sitting at, and it's on the table next to him.
It was very cool.
It was so cool. That was a really good
Yeah.
effect. And I also wanted to say, okay, so then Dean kind of walks up to Death, and we get to see him. And I just wanted to mention that am so glad that he fits the description that we've had of him already. Um, in the episode where Bobby's wife is returned from the dead, and at the end of it, she talks about how when she came out of her grave, that there was a man there, and he had a message for Bobby, and he was a very thin man.
That's right. And this guy is like super thin.
Yes, he fits the description perfectly.
Hmm.
And
That's
I
so
was just
funny though.
so
I
happy about that.
completely forgot that Death was there when, the dead were being risen from the
Mhm.
ground.
Mhm. Yeah, so I had remembered that. And I remember thinking too when that happened, like, okay, well, whenever we see Death, he better fit this description because they kind of box themselves in there. So I don't know if they already have somebody in mind or if they need to find an actor to fit that description, but they already kind of told us what he looks like.
Hmm.
And he fits. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And then while the storm is still raging outside, um, so Death tells Dean, he's like, sit down, have some pizza. And Dean's like, oh, okay. I mean, if Death tells you to do something, you do it.
Yeah. You
You
don't
know?
just shut up.
Yeah, you're not going to say no. So he sits down, and Death tells him that I think Dean asks how old he is because he says something like, I'm very old. And Dean's like, well, how old are you? And Death says that he's as old as God, maybe older. Um, but in the end, he'll reap him too when God dies. And Dean's like,
What the fuck?
Dean's like shitting his pants. You know, you can just tell that he's like, what? God will die and you'll reap him too? What the hell is happening?
Yeah,
Um,
that's insane.
yeah. So then Dean asks Death why he's still alive, like why he hasn't killed him yet, and what Death wants. And Death says that he wants the leash around his neck taken off. Lucifer has him bound to him by a spell, and he's using Death as his weapon. Um, so this totally makes sense. I didn't know that was possible, but somehow apparently Lucifer has been able to bind Death to him and use him to do his bidding. So the fact that he's even about to wipe out Chicago right now, I guess, is because Lucifer wants him to, and he's just going through with his plan.
Right. Yeah.
And Death doesn't
He
like it, and I don't
he's
blame him.
Yeah, but like up until this point, he's just kind of like, you know, following along and dealing with it. And even though he's just taking orders, which is interesting because he seems to be more powerful than Lucifer. I would think if he's more powerful than God, right?
Yeah, so like, what is this spell that bound him to him that he can't break?
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's been taking orders, but not because he wants to. Like, it's obvious that he's pissed off about it. Um, he says that um, I think he says something about like basically that Lucifer is kind of like a child throwing a temper tantrum, and he's at his mercy because of this stupid spell. Um, and he's kind of caught in the middle, and he doesn't want to do it anymore. And then also Lucifer, because of this spell and having to do, or yeah, because of the spell and having to do Lucifer's bidding, Death couldn't reach out to Sam and Dean before now. He had to wait for them to catch up to him so that he could talk to them. So
Mm.
he's been pissed off about it all along, but he couldn't do anything until Sam and Dean found him and he could make this proposition, which is that he tells Dean that he understands that he wants his ring and he'll give it to Dean, but only if Dean does whatever it takes to put Lucifer in his cage. And he's like, yeah, duh, that's the plan. And he's like, no, no. anything. Sam is the only one who can do it. And he says, you have to, when the time comes, let your brother jump into that pit. And
Yeah.
Dean says, okay. And he gets the ring.
I mean, what else is he supposed to say at this point? You know.
Right. And then Death just reminds him, you know, don't do anything funny. You can't cheat Death. And then he also asks him if he would like an instruction manual. And then we see outside that the storm stops in Chicago.
Yeah, we've seen Final D, so we know that you can't cheat death. And I guess like the whole storm stopped because Death was like, "All right, I'm not going to follow Lucifer's orders at this point." Is that right?
Yeah, and they even talk about it a little bit.
Mm.
Because I think he also can't maybe do that without his ring.
Mm.
And so once he's gonna give it to Dean, and Dean's like, "What about Chicago?" And he's like, "I guess it can stay. I like the pizza."
Yeah, the pizzas. Well, I don't know. I haven't tried it. I haven't tried it.
Me
I
either.
was just
I mean,
telling
I sort of
Jose I
have, but
really
not
want to
from
try it.
Chicago. Yeah, let's go to
I
Chicago
haven't
when
even
all this
tried
is
it,
over.
like, from here. Yeah, we're gonna definitely try that.
Hmm.
Um,
It's basically like a pizza casserole, and I'm down.
yeah, I'm always down for that. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's it's such a tense exchange. Um, you feel like how stressed out Dean must be talking to Death.
Yeah, it's very tense.
Uh, yeah. More so than he ever was, I think, with the Angels. He just immediately saw that they were douchebags and shouldn't be taken too seriously. But no, this guy, Death, he's way more intimidating than any angel could ever be.
Oh yeah,
Because he's so
agreed.
powerful. I mean, damn,
Mm-hmm.
he's just I don't know, but it's very interesting that Dean does have to promise, hey, fine, I will let Sam die, basically,
Yeah.
or whatever that is, jumping into the cage.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I understood from that is that he meant that he's kind of supporting Sam's plan. Sam's plan is to let Lucifer take over his body and fight with him from the inside. And I think Death is saying that that's the only way out of this. That's the only
Mm-hmm.
hope, because it has to come down to Sam. Um, so whether or not he would die from that, I don't know, but I think he's just like, he's got to do it. You have to let him.
Yeah, yeah, that is interesting that he establishes that really is the
I
only thing
know.
that they can do.
Yeah, so that's like what really becomes apparent in this episode. And I mean, really, even in the last episode, whenever like Sam was drinking and talking on the phone to Bobby, and then
Mm-hmm.
Bobby was like, "Oh, hell no, you're not doing that." I was like, why not? Like, I know that sounds awful, but I think he could do it. And also, Bobby, maybe you could, in case it does happen, you don't want it to happen, but in the event that it does, like, it goes the way that you don't want it to, maybe you should go ahead and tell Sam how
What it
you
felt
took
like.
over how you took over when that demon was possessing you, because he was able to do that,
Right.
and he didn't give him that advice.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, no, he should talk to him about it. And it's interesting because we have seen Sam be taken over before by a demon, by Yellow Eyes, and he was unable to break free there.
Mhm.
Um,
True.
So, I mean, that was so long ago, and Sam is so much stronger, I think, emotionally and physically.
Hmm.
I mean, look at him; he's really buff
I
now,
know, he's
and
so beefy.
but you know, and mentally and everything that he's been through. So it's totally possible that he can do it. I think.
I think so too. And just especially with like it's more likely to succeed if he has the support of everybody around him. You know, if they're all still going, "No, this is crazy, don't do it," then it's less likely to succeed.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's crazy. But Dean gets Death's ring.
Mm-hmm.
And the next scene we see Dean in Bobby's junkyard, and he has all four horseman rings on the table, and they're laid out in a circle, and he pushes them closer together and they sort of magnetically snap together,
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
it is.
So then Bobby comes out. He's just so like happy go lucky about being able to walk. He says that he hardly slept last night. He was running up and down stairs and he's sore and it feels so good. It's so cute.
It is. Yeah.
Um and he offers Dean a beer and sits down with him and they start talking, and Bobby starts like trying to convince Dean that maybe Death was right about thinking that Sam needs to go through with his plan. Cuz Dean's like, I he basically says like I lied to Death. Like I'm not going to let Sam do that, and Bobby's kind of like, "Why?" you know? And he says they've been hard on Sam his whole life. But in the
Mm-hmm.
meantime, he's been running into burning buildings since he was 12. And he knows that, there's a darkness in Sam, but he's got a lot of good in him too, and that he will beat the devil or die trying. And you can tell that Dean's
Yeah.
kind of like thinking all of it over. And Bobby says, "So I gotta ask, what are you afraid of? Losing or losing your brother?" And then the scene cuts.
Yeah. I mean, what a difficult position to put Dean in. You know, he has to
Yes.
either sacrifice his brother or sacrifice the world. And
Hmm.
like that's so tough, you know?
Yeah. And it makes sense at
Um,
this point. Like, I think Dean needs to get real about it because, and that is so tough because they've stuck by each other and we've seen their relationship get a lot better lately. And, they're like
mhm.
really kind of bound together. But if that's the only way that this can go and Dean is still saying no, he needs to get real with himself about why he doesn't want that to happen.
Right, yeah. And understand that there's not really at this moment a another option. They don't
Right.
have, what is he going to do? He's going to like just simply push Lucifer into the hole? Like
Right.
what is his
Yeah.
other plan?
What's your alternative? Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's where we're left. Um, I fucking love this episode, as I have now said like 10 times throughout our
Yeah.
talking about it.
It's no, it's so good. It's amazing. I don't have a place for it yet on the ranking, but I'm curious to know if you have like a specific number that you'd like to look at.
Not yet. I'm kind of looking right now. Let me see. Um, I mean, honestly, it's for me, it's in the top 10.
I agree with that. Certainly.
Um, I don't know, man. I am kind of feeling. Oh man, I mean, it could be in the top 5 for me, but if it's not for you, um, I could see the new like number 6.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Wow. No, I actually I'm looking at it because I okay. So the devil you know, I was fighting for that one, and I really love that one. I'm glad where we put it, but I do like this one better than that one. I
Okay.
like it better than the Rapture.
Mhm.
I think. I think I like it better than the monster at the end of this book, and I'm kind of like around number 5, the new number 5. So right now at the top we have Mystery Spot, Lucifer Rising at number 2, number 3 Dark Side of the Moon, number 4 Lazarus Rising, and number 5 Changing Channels.
Mhm. Yeah, and I kind of felt like looking at this list, I'm going up and up and I'm like, yeah, yeah, better than that one. And then I sort of hit a little bit of a wall at changing channels.
Okay. Yeah, I yeah, I know. I love Changing Channels. I think that one's iconic.
It's
An
solid.
iconic episode for Supernatural.
Yeah.
Um, so I could see, yeah, that's kind of like the flip flopper for me too, as well, because I definitely think Lazarus Rising and Above, those are great episodes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can't really see unseating those, but yeah, I think for me I'm kind of feeling the new number 6 to bump down the monster at the end of this book.
All right,
Hey. Okay.
I like it.
Yay. All right, cool. Well then season 5 episode 21, 2 minutes to midnight is going in as the new number 6, and this one's going in the trunk. Cool, man.
Great episode. A great
So
run
good.
of episodes at the end of season 5.
Yeah,
That's for sure. Um,
for sure.
I'm so excited to get to the next episode. Swan Song is an amazing episode. It's Kripke's last episode. Um,
Oh
and
man.
I don't know. I haven't seen it in a really, really long time, but I think it's gonna be our new number 1. I think it
Oh
might
no.
be.
Oh my god. I'm excited.
I, just like remembering it, I'm like, yep, that's number 1. But we've gotta watch it and
Okay.
see.
Okay. Um I know we were going to try and have a guest on for that episode. Are we still going to do that?
Oh yeah, we are.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Thank you for reminding me. I need to email that person. So that's let's do that, and let's keep it there just in
Okay.
case it doesn't happen, in
Okay.
case something has come up.
Okay. Well, then we
Um
may or may not have a very special guest on for that episode, which would be very exciting.
right. Very exciting. Would love to have a guest. And besides that, I have created our typical, our usual season 5 wrap up survey. I haven't put out yet, but I'm going to do that today, the
Cool.
day of our recording, which is the day before this episode comes out.
Which is today.
And which is today. And so the usual questions are on there. What was your favorite season 5 episode? What was your least favorite season 5 episode? And then we have, do you prefer Meg number 1 or Meg number 2? So Nikki
Yeah.
Acox or Rachel Miner? And our other usual question, what was your favorite ship of the season? So here are your choices, guys. Think about it before you go into the survey and answer. 1, Dean and Lisa. 2, Chuck and Becky. 3, the Trickster and Collie. Aw.
Good one.
Yeah. Or 4, Crowley and Bobby.
I love you. That's a good choice.
So tell us what you think. This will be posted on Twitter and our website and Facebook. But please feel free to give us all of your thoughts on season 5 through this survey.
Yeah. It's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been a good season.
Season 5 is lots of fun. So it'll be a really good wrap up discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. And y'all generally know where to find us. But just in case you don't, let me see if I've got that information on here. I don't, but I remember it. So our blog is www.highway, that's HWY, to hellpodcast.com. We also have our recordings of the episodes on there, so go check it out. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and iTunes and wherever you get your podcasts, Google Play. And if you could leave us a review, we don't plug that very often, but we really appreciate all the reviews that we get. You can also email us at highwaytohellpodcast@gmail.com. And we try to take all of those emails. We'll have mailbag minisodes every now and then to respond to your emails. But we also obviously really appreciate you reaching out through Facebook and Twitter when we have no idea what the fuck is going on and you can correct us. So please keep doing that too. It really does help, and we appreciate the engagement and like hearing from y'all. And
Yep.
also, just to kind of address everything else at the moment, y'all stay safe, be cautious, and do whatever you need to keep yourselves happy and healthy. And we hope all of you are doing well, and we love you all.
Mm-hmm.
And until next time, we will see you on the highway to hell. Bye.
Bye.